always been bullish on Ethereum. I think Ethereum is, it's a very different thing to Bitcoin. I think this is an important thing for people new to the space to understand. People talk about there being competition between Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's like they're very different things. Ethereum is this network upon which so much of this layer one upon which so much of crypto is built. Whereas Bitcoin at the moment is kind of more that store of value narrative.
With our partner 21 Shares, which is the largest crypto ETP provider in the world, mainly European focused, we are launching 5 ETFs. The strategies are going to be around Bitcoin futures, Ethereum futures. One will be Bitcoin futures and cash. One will be Bitcoin futures and Ethereum futures. And then the last one will be broader Bitcoin and companies exposed to digital assets, right. Equity.
This is an important thing for people new to the space to understand. People talk about there being competition between Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's like they're very different things. Ethereum is this network upon which so much of this layer one upon which so much of crypto is built. Whereas Bitcoin at the moment is kind of more that store of value narrative, even though we're seeing, exciting things like ordinals come along and change the game a little bit. But yeah, Ethereum underpins so much of the crypto ecosystem. And even if you're not a fan of Ethereum, even if you prefer some of the other layer one blockchains out there, or you're more of an interoperability person, you like those layer zero projects like Cosmos, for example. Even if you don't like Ethereum, you can't get away from the fact that a huge amount of the crypto ecosystem is built upon it. And yes, Ethereum still has a lot of work to do. Yes, gas fees are insanely high, really. It's much cheaper to do a lot of this stuff on other blockchains, sure. But the amount of development going on in the Ethereum ecosystem is just staggering. And so, although I think a spot ETH ETF is going to be great news, it's obviously going to help with ETH's price in the long term. I think what's more important is how much is happening on Ethereum. Now, recently we've seen network activity on Ethereum take a bit of a dip, and ETH actually went inflationary again. It now seems to be picking up again, but there is all this competition from those other layer ones. But I've been bullish on Ethereum's future for as long as I can remember, and that hasn't changed. It's still got a lot of challenges to do. But I mean, look, last year with the merge, this huge transition from proof of work to proof of stake, the Ethereum team pulled that off. It worked, this massive, massive change to the network. So I'm confident that they're going to be able to handle all the other changes, all the other developments, further evolution that needs to happen in Ethereum. So, yeah, I think an ETH ETF is interesting, but it doesn't change my outlook much for Ethereum. ETH tends to lag Bitcoin by one cycle. But certainly, as you say, the tokenomics have changed so much, and now the more Ethereum gets used, the more ETH gets burned, and therefore the less there is available. So in terms of price, I mean, where are we now? We're sort of hovering around the $2,000 mark. I think we could go to top of the next cycle. I think we could go I would be targeting around 5K sort of minimum. But I think it could get as high as maybe, I'm not sure 10K necessarily. I think it could get as high as maybe 8K at the top of this cycle. One thing I think is worth bearing in mind, though, is that even though we've got all this network activity happening on Ethereum, we've also got all these layer twos building on Ethereum as well, which don't necessarily result in the burning of ETH. So that could be something to bear in mind. But again, it all feeds into just how massive Ethereum is. So yeah, I'm confident that there are bright days ahead for Ethereum, and yeah, whether we get to 10K, I'm not sure, but I think 5K would be fairly not too unrealistic.
We think there's a place. I think these strategies will be more probably institutionally focused, and I think the spot coin Bitcoin ETF will be perhaps more retail focused. What's interesting about it is, if you look at the pecking order, our filing is next in line.
No, I know you're on the list.
What has happened, the change, is that the SEC actually asked us questions. I think asked us questions, asked BlackRock, probably has asked a lot. Whereas before, our filings were just rejected outright. Hand.
Okay.
So that is movement. That is significant. And, you know, over the years, I've gotten to know the research people at the SEC, and I'm very impressed. And I was impressed by the questions they asked us, too. So,
what were the kinds of questions they asked?
A lot of them were very technical. They're all about protecting the consumer. And, you know, of course, the showstopper, at least from Gary Gensler's point of view, is he thinks Bitcoin can be manipulated. And, you know, this is a decentralized, transparent network. You can follow all the activity online. It's highly unlikely.
It had to be that.
I have wondered, there's speculation that he's interested in the Treasury Secretary position at some point. What does the Treasury Secretary do?
Protecting fiat for the government?
I mean, very focused on. I don't know. I don't understand it myself, because he definitely understands.
He understands.
And there could even be a sell on the news. But the fundamentals, we put out a Bitcoin monthly piece every month, and you can see the health of the network using our on-chain metrics. The health of the network is almost as good as it gets. And it seems like this is a bull market. Sure, we'll have puts and takes. Nothing goes straight up. But I think this flight to quality, Larry Fink used that expression. We call it flight to safety. You look at what happened during the regional bank crisis. Bitcoin went from 19,000 to nearly 30,000 as the KRE, the regional bank stock index, was imploding. If you look at the bank stock index today, it is back down close to where it was in March. So when Larry might say flight to quality, which is good, it's true, we would say flight to safety, because there's no counterparty risk in Bitcoin. Through equities, there are companies, you know, we're trying to find the company that is going to produce the digital wallet. That will be a very important position. Is it Coinbase? Is it Square with Cash App? Is it Robinhood? In Latin America, is it Mercado Libre or Nubank? So
how much
those
overlap
sorts of
is there?
Ethereum, as we think, you know, that is the smart contract network. That is the decentralized finance network.
So Bitcoin and Ether, anything beyond that?
Well, you know, there are infrastructure players. Solana is doing a really good job. I mean, if you look at Ether was faster and cheaper than Bitcoin in the day. That's how we got Ether. Solana is even faster and cost-effective than Ether. So, you know, there are infrastructure plays. We do believe Web3, digital assets. That's a big idea, actually. Digital assets with property rights.